friends, to the coverage of the MonsterVerse series. We are now moving on to the fourth film in the franchise. We previously covered Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla King of the Monsters. And now we're covering Godzilla vs. Kong from 2021. Now, Grif, I just want to ask you, have you seen anything about this movie?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right. Good. Strap in, because this is where the MonsterVerse gets insane.
Okay, I'm gonna try to hold on to my butt.
Yeah. So this is the movie that they just said, you know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna make shit up. We're
gonna throw this at you, and this, and accept it all.
I mean, some of it was set up before, so some of it's paying off things that were set up, but some of it's just like, yeah, we just thought this would be cool, so we're just gonna do this.
Yeah.
So, to listeners out there, are you guys familiar with the Hollow Earth theory? Grif, are you familiar with the Hollow Earth theory?
Well, kinda. So I know of it from like Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah.
And that's about all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of series, like older books that detail going into the Earth and finding an old civilization or like a prehistoric world or something down there. Land of the Lost, that's another one. Land of the Lost, the Pellucidar book series, I'm a big fan of. It's all about the hidden world within the Earth's crust. So, really interesting stuff. You may be asking, why am I talking about this? Trust me, it's vital information for this film, because this is when they've hinted that the Earth in the MonsterVerse has a hollow and has hollow areas in it. That there's something down there, which in King of the Monsters we saw Godzilla's lair, which technically was like a pocket deep under the ocean, like under the Earth too, to where that lost civilization that was totally not Atlantis was. So that, and then in Kong Skull Island, whenever they were testing, dropping the bombs, like doing the echolocation thing, they figured out that Skull Island is basically hollow underneath. So they were laying in hints that there was something bigger down there the whole time. It's just you don't realize it whenever you first watch everything, and then this movie happens, and that's when you're like, okay, they were actually building to something. That is, now we're going into the Hollow Earth, and I'll come back to that, but I want to just give you a basic plot beat down here so we know what happens. So the protagonists of this movie, there are a few human characters. There's Alexander Skarsgård. He's a scientist who actually believes in the Hollow Earth theory. Because his brother was with Monarch, if I remember correctly, and they were actually trying to venture down into the Hollow Earth to study it, but then his ship got crushed and he died. So it's become like a mission for him to figure out to go into the Hollow Earth to see what his brother was trying to find.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a neat story, just one of many little bits of character in this movie. And then I know you said you hadn't seen this one, but in the next movie she's also in it. Rebecca Hall, who's the scientist who has the little deaf girl. That's her adopted daughter, who was one of the Iwi tribe from Skull Island. That Skull Island has basically been destroyed at this point, and she was the last survivor of that tribe. And so their storyline and the little girl's Gia's connection to Kong is a really interesting through line with this movie and the next one. Because her being deaf, she speaks through signing. That's how she communicates. And in this movie, like when Kong has been spending time with her as like kind of her guardian whenever they were living on Skull Island, he learned sign language.
Yeah.
And whenever I saw the movie the first time and I saw him sign something to her, I was like, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and just monkeys in general have, and I mean, just a lot of, in that range of species have learned sign language. So it's like, I don't feel like that's, I know we're in a monster universe and we're just accepting what's going on, but like, I really don't feel like him learning sign language is something that's like that far out there, because that's something that can be done.
Just a little taste of realism.
Right.
Yeah, and as a huge fan of the most recent Planet of the Apes series, where you saw like Caesar learn signing, and then he eventually learned to speak and all that. And
Caesar is home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I love stories like that with apes learning to speak to humans and that kind of thing. Also, I have an idea for a video I might do at some point in the future about movies starring apes. So, audience, let me know if that interests you at all. I'll take it under advisement if you want to hear more thoughts about those movies. Not specifically Planet of the Apes, just, there's a lot of movies with apes in them that are interesting. But anyway, so we have this group here with Rebecca Hall and Gia and Kong. And then Alexander Skarsgård joins them, along with Apex Cybernetics, who are a technology company that's definitely not evil.
Yeah, because the name doesn't sound evil at all.
Yeah. And I'm like watching a MonsterVerse movie, and I'm like, Cybernetics. I'm like, oh, I think I know where this is going.
It just sounds like Skynet, but just not saying it.
Yeah, I'm just like, I think I see a classic Toho monster in our future coming very soon. I'm like, yeah, I see what you're doing. And again, with the trailers, like not being edited well, or like showing something they shouldn't. Yeah, I'm just gonna say Mechagodzilla's in the movie.
Yeah.
And even in the trailer, like they're highlighting it's Godzilla and Kong fighting each other. Like that's mostly what they show. But there's a couple of scenes where you see destruction happening, and you see a silver Godzilla-looking thing in the background. I'm like, guys, come on! I know what that is.
It's right there.
You're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that comes in a little bit later. I'll talk about that when that happens. But the totally not evil company Apex wants to go into the Hollow Earth to study the energy sources down there, which is totally not a front for anything and is totally benevolent. But yeah, they hire Skarsgård, and they go and end up going with Gia because of her connection to Kong. Because Kong's home has basically been destroyed, and they're just keeping him in like a controlled environment on Skull Island, trying to keep him there because they know he gets off the island, Godzilla's going to sense him, and he's another like apex titan or alpha titan. So they know that the fight's going to happen if those two meet, and they don't want that to happen. So they're like, okay, so this Hollow Earth idea. Apparently, they're going to use Kong because their theory is that all of the Titans are originally from Hollow Earth, and they're going to go with the idea of genetic memory, which is it's the same thing like with salmon. You know how they always when they breed they go back to where they were born.
Yeah,
it's the same idea. Like because of his species originally coming from the Hollow Earth, they're using him as a guide to go down into the Hollow Earth and find what they're looking for. It's very similar to the movie Congo, if you guys have ever seen that. It's a really interesting 90s movie about a gorilla that learns to speak, that they go into the Congo to bring it home, and then there's also a treasure hunt element to it. It's a good movie if you guys haven't seen it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so they take Kong, have him go into Hollow Earth, and they don't really explain this. And I had a theory about why Skull Island was destroyed, but it turned out to be something else entirely. Because a storm that had been, around the island the whole time apparently had like devoured the island. The storm had destroyed everything, killed all the iwi. So yeah, what I thought happened was because of Ghidorah changing the weather in King of the Monsters and flying all around the earth, disrupting weather patterns, that it was because of him that Skull Island got destroyed.
Yeah.
But that's not it. It's a totally different thing. It's in there's comic books explaining it if you want to research it. But I just wanted to share that because I thought that was an interesting idea. But then they ended up doing something different than that. So they're teaming up with Kong, and while that's going on, the daughter from the last movie, the parents that were the main character and the villain of the movie, their daughter is following like what's happening with Godzilla, because Godzilla's acting strange. He's attacking human settlements. They don't know what's going on, and that's when she meets up with Bernie, played by Brian Tyree Henry, the conspiracy theorist podcaster.
Yeah.
A very, very fun character. And I really like, I would say this part of the movie, like whenever it's with them trying to figure out what's going on with Godzilla, is probably the weaker element of the movie. But he does like make it a little really funny, where just the interaction with him and these two kids that are trying to figure out what's going on. But the place that you see Godzilla attack is an Apex Cybernetics plant. And you're like, I wonder why Godzilla would target them. I wonder what Apex is actually doing at their technology plants and what they're building.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, definitely something shady going on there. But anyways, now we're going to the Hollow Earth, kids. So strap in. Going into they go into the North Pole, if I remember correctly, like up the very top of the planet. Before we get there, Godzilla finds Kong because they're bringing him on a boat to get there, and I'm like, guys, come on, think this through. Godzilla lives in the ocean.
Yeah. He's
gonna sense Kong, and since he's already irritable because of something that the humans are doing, he sees another Alpha Titan. It's not gonna end well.
Yeah.
So they fight on the boat and in the water. It's pretty clear Godzilla wins that fight because it's in his element, and it's a total sneak attack when it happens. They barely get away from Godzilla, and I do like in this film that Godzilla, they're kind of playing up the menace of Godzilla again, because there's a scene like after he devastates the ships that were escorting Kong. He's just like sitting there in the water, staring them down. Like he's like, "Try this shit again, I dare you." Next time, none of you are gonna be left.
Yeah.
So they get to the North Pole, and Kong and a team of scientists with Rebecca Hall and Alexander Skarsgård and Gia, and then some people from Apex. This is where they introduce the hovercraft technology, which I'm like, okay, they're really, really in-depth cybernetic people. Like they're building hovercrafts, they're building like military weaponry and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like technology just went insane in this movie. Like that's when it went crazy. Now we got hovercrafts. Now we're following a giant ape going to the Hollow Earth.
What else could be going on?
It makes Godzilla 2014 look quite quaint by comparison. Quite realistic. But they go into the Hollow Earth, and this is when my imagination just went crazy in this sequence, because when they go in through a portal and they slam down into Hollow Earth, it's like two worlds in one that are one's upside down, one's right side up, because of gravity, and like the gravity is weird, where there's land masses and water on the ceiling and on the floor, where there's like entire ecosystems throughout the Hollow Earth that exist. Some down there, some up here, and because of the gravity and being weird, there's never like creatures falling from above down below and dying. I told you guys that this was the movie that gets insane. Like this whole sequence is crazy. So they follow Kong like they said they're gonna do, and meet a few dangerous creatures as expected. Not old titans, not nothing we'd seen before. Just creatures living in the Hollow Earth, living in their own ecosystem down there. But then they get to a really interesting part where Kong finds his ancestral home, and you see like the remains of like an ape civilization that lived down there. And that's where he finds this little number, the axe that is made out of a Godzilla dorsal plate.
Oh.
So it's hinting that, at the end of King of the Monsters, you saw the cave paintings where you saw a Kong fighting a Godzilla in the past.
Yeah.
It's highlighting that the apes and the Gojiras in the past there was a war between them back. This was like Hollow Earth time, like when they were all down there still.
Yeah.
But that's when he gets the axe, and he keeps that axe through this movie and then into the next movie too. But I'm just like, that's such a cool idea that there's this giant race of animals that were smart enough to figure out how to use their enemy's power against them. By using the dorsal plates, they can absorb the radiation from the Godzilla's attacks.
Okay.
And then
that's a good idea.
Yeah. And this is when you figure out, if you didn't figure out already, that Apex are the bad guys. Apex has their drones down there, and they see that radiation spring there, and that's when they start absorbing that power, and it starts feeding back into their facility, powering up Mechagodzilla. So, yeah, pretty predictable. They were doing something shady was going on there.
Yeah.
But this is probably the most insane thing that happens in the whole movie, that the next movie doesn't even address it, because I don't think they knew what to do exactly. So Godzilla senses the sucking the power out of the Hollow Earth and going up to Apex. So he figures out where that is on the surface, and he fires an atomic blast down into the Earth, all the way through the Earth's crust, down into the Hollow Earth to try to stop it. Made a crater from the surface of the Earth to the center of the Earth.
Jeez.
That's just there. That I'm like, I guess that's a permanent thing now.
Right.
That's just... I think it's in Hong Kong is where it is, if I remember right. There's just a giant crater in Hong Kong that goes all the way down to the center of the planet. Sure, that won't cause any problems for us or anything. But that's when the fight starts. The second round fight starts, because Kong took that as an aggression against him. And when Godzilla blasted down, it destroyed Kong's ancestral home there. Like, it destroyed the temple and everything that they had built. So then he gets in that tunnel that Godzilla made, and he climbs his way up to Hong Kong in minutes, mind you, somehow.
Yeah.
Gets up there, has the axe, and he's like, "You destroyed my home, I'm gonna wreck your shit now." And then they fight in Hong Kong, and this is like the main event of the movie that you've been waiting for, because now it's on more even playing field. Kong and Godzilla are on land fighting, and Kong has a weapon that can absorb the atomic breath. So you're like,
okay.
So you're like, okay, you built up Kong enough that if he somehow swings out a victory against Godzilla, it's not the craziest outcome that could happen. So you're like, and it's a good fight. Like it's very Pacific Rim-esque because the city, if I remember right, in Pacific Rim, Hong Kong is their base of operations, and that's where the big fight happens with the two kaiju.
Yeah.
It's with all the neon lights and everything of the city as the backdrop of the fight. And Kong does pretty good in this fight. Like he uses the axe effectively. He's a lot faster than Godzilla. Like he can jump and climb and run on things that Godzilla can. It's like an ape in the jungle, like just swinging, instead of from tree to tree, like skyscraper to skyscraper.
Yeah.
Then getting a few good hits on Godzilla. But cool moment and the trailer spoiled it, of course. But Godzilla powers up his breath and he fires a straight shot at Kong. And Kong's like running and jumps at Godzilla, swinging the axe. And the axe absorbs the radiation, and then it comes flying in through the beam and hits Godzilla in the head with the axe, and it just causes this massive explosion, knocks them both back. So I'm like, I kind of get why you showed that in the trailer, because that's like the big moment of the fight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, man, imagine if they didn't show that.
Right.
How cool that would have been.
Yeah.
So then they both fall down, and it looks like they're both basically unconscious, and they're like, okay, did Kong win the fight? And then Godzilla gets up like 2 minutes later, and just goes feral on Kong, and he actually starts crawling on all fours and like coming at him like a crocodile.
Yes.
Just scratches him, bites him, hurts him bad, and Kong's down on the ground. Godzilla's got his foot on him. Like, he's like, "Do you give?" And then Godzilla's trying to assert dominance. He roars in Kong's face, and then Kong just roars right back in his face, and then Kong passes out. So it's like, yeah, Godzilla won definitively against Kong, but it was cool that Kong like didn't yield to him. Like he only yielded because he passed out.
Yeah.
So then Godzilla's like, well, I dealt with Kong. Now I gotta deal with whatever the heck Apex is doing. And then at that exact moment, right after that fight, and when Godzilla's kind of beaten up and kind of tired, Mechagodzilla shows up.
Of course.
Yeah. And I do like Mechagodzilla in this. They did something really interesting with him. They actually tied him in his origin into Ghidorah. Because Ghidorah, he had the 3 different heads, and they could speak to each other telepathically. Like, that's how they were able to function as an animal.
Yeah.
So what Apex did is they took the 2 skulls of Ghidorah, and they made one of them like a control console that the humans could control from their headquarters, and then the Ghidorah skull was inside Mechagodzilla, so they could pilot it remotely, basically. And it's like, yeah, that seems to be working and everything until Ghidorah takes over Mechagodzilla. It's like, taking the villain's brain and putting it into a killer death machine was such a great idea.
Yeah, because nothing bad would happen there.
Yeah. So it's kind of Mechagodzilla and kind of Mecha King Ghidorah too. So it's kind of neat how they tied everything together like that into one character. And then the big fight at the end is like Mechagodzilla is just wrecking Godzilla in a fight because Godzilla's tired, and Mechagodzilla was specifically designed to kill him.
Yeah.
So plan was kill Godzilla first, and then basically assert humans as dominant over the Titans because of that. Because Mechagodzilla would be the Alpha Titan, basically.
Okay.
So Godzilla's not doing great. Kong's not doing great. He's basically dead, actually, because his heart stopped from all that beatdown that he got from Godzilla. Humans revive him through sci-fi nonsense that I'm not gonna pretend makes any sense. But so he wakes up, picks up the axe, and then Gia basically tells him like that thing, Mechagodzilla, that's the real enemy. Take that thing out. Help Godzilla in this. And then the really cool 2-on-1 final fight between these three, and Mechagodzilla's holding his own. Like that's something that I thought was really cool. Is he's not just able to fight both of them easily. He's able to use his arms, and he uses his tail as a weapon too, and he's able to fight both of them pretty well. But then they do the ultimate tag team move to do, because Kong's using the axe and he's trying to cut Mechagodzilla with it, but it can't penetrate the armor.
Mm-hmm.
So then Godzilla is down on the ground looking at Kong trying to fight this thing, and then he gets the idea, shoots the atomic breath at the axe, powers it up, and then it's like a lightsaber axe. And then Kong goes to town on Mechagodzilla and just hacks him to pieces with an axe.
Nice.
And I love how Kong does. He does Mortal Kombat fatalities in these movies. Because he gets he cuts off Mechagodzilla's arms and gets him down, and then just decapitates him with the axe and then rips his head off.
Whew.
I was like, yeah, that was awesome. And then after the battle was over, Mechagodzilla's dead, and then Godzilla and Kong just kind of stare at each other, and they're
kind of give each other a nod.
Yeah.
Go your way, I go my way.
Yeah, there's I do like that they humanized the kaiju enough, or the Titans enough, that you can kind of understand what they're feeling without dialogue. They can just through their physical performance, you can kind of understand that. Godzilla just goes off to the ocean to go take a nap and recharge, but you can tell there's still a little bit of tension between them, because after they kill Mechagodzilla, Kong's still holding the axe, and then Godzilla looks at Kong and it's like, is he gonna try to attack me again with the axe? And then Kong drops the axe, and that's the sign. No, I don't want to fight you. Bury the hatchet. Quite literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then thus ends that storyline, and we kind of thought that the MonsterVerse was going to end with that, because that's what everything was building to, was that fight.
Yeah.
And then it made a shit zillion dollars, so
let's make another one.
And this came out during the pandemic, so the fact that it made $500 million.
Oh, was that when the COVID monster was around?
Yeah. Yes, the Titans beat the COVID monster. That told them okay, people actually like this. They want some more. But that's what I like about this series, is that King of the Monsters, even though the fans really liked it, it didn't do great financially. So they're like, do we keep doing this? And they're like, okay, we'll do Godzilla vs. Kong, because that's what we've set up. We'll deliver on that, and then if they don't want any more, we'll just end it. But then everyone's like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's keep going. They're like, okay.
Where do we go now?
Oh, and at the end, the way they do the whole 2 alpha thing, how they settle that is that Godzilla is the alpha of the surface world. Kong goes down to Hollow Earth, and he has a new home now. And I was just so happy for Kong, because I'm like, they gave him two. They've given him 2 movies with a happy ending so far.
Yeah.
I was like, finally, my boy gets some happiness in life.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Godzilla vs. Kong, and I really like this one. It's not my personal favorite. There's certain things in it I really like, and I like overall what it did for the universe, like Hollow Earth stuff and all the craziness. They kind of got that out of their system. Like, okay, all the crazy shit's happened. We've accepted it. Now we can do whatever we want, basically. Yeah. So had some fun with that one. Now we're going to move on to the big one. This year's Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. So check that one out. We'll have that one out next, and hope you enjoy. We'll see you then.
Monkey hate technology, robot hate the